Well, a new year brings, well, yes, it's time to start thinking about elections right now. 2026 is an election year in both Georgia and South Carolina. And some of the first polls are out talking about the candidates in all the races, but especially maybe that most high profile one, the Senate. Kimberly Martin is here, Associate Professor of Political Science from Georgia Southern. You'll be with us all year long talking about this. Unfortunately, yes, it's all year long. I'm sorry, the ads are coming, I promise. So, but those first polls are out when it comes to the Senate race, which is maybe the hotly contested one. What are they showing?
Right, so there's been two polls, one that was in October with the Atlanta Journal-Constitution and one very recent one in January with a more conservative pollster. But both of those are finding that Mike Collins has the advantage among the candidates for the Republican primary for Senate. Trailing him is Buddy Carter and then Derek Dooley after that. At this point, Mike Collins is benefiting a lot from name recognition. He has a much higher profile, national profile than our local Buddy Carter does. One of the other things that one of the polls said was that Republican voters seem to be very upbeat about President Trump. And so I think that that's sort of playing into that name recognition that Mike Collins has.
And we were talking about it before, the ethics issues that Mike Collins don't seem to be making a blip with his base right now.
No, not right now. That probably won't matter a whole lot to Republican voters. I think what they're really going to care about is Donald Trump's endorsement at this point, which all three of them are vying for.
Yeah, especially Buddy Carter. We've seen it lately that Congressman Carter right here from our area pushing hard on that conservative agenda, including just yesterday when he talked about bringing ICE into Georgia. Take a listen to that. So the ICE in Georgia, Buddy Carter's talking about the possibility of bringing ICE into Georgia, into the Atlanta area specifically. Right. You think this is designed specifically pointed at the president to try to get that endorsement?
Yeah, absolutely. So we all know what the party line is for the administration on this topic. And so, again, this is really coveted, this endorsement from Donald Trump. If you think about the way things are going with the governor's race, we're talking about like Burt Jones. Burt Jones ended up getting Donald Trump's endorsement, and he's up in the polls. So this is something that these three Senate candidates are really looking forward to getting.
And you'd think the governor's race would sort of take center stage for a lot of these things, but they've been very, very quiet so far. Why do we think, especially on the Republican side, it has been that quiet?
Right. So right now, these candidates have been fairly quiet on this side. They're still working up name recognition. They're still building their donor base, and they're trying to move forward with it at this point. They're trying not to spread themselves too thin before the primary, and so we haven't heard a lot from either side about this particular issue. But I would expect that to change in the upcoming months, for sure.
Well, and Burt Jones already gotten President Trump's endorsement, so that's sort of that one step forward we talk about on the Senate side. Hasn't been done, but money's going to play a lot into this too, because nobody's raised that much money, especially on the Republican side.
Right. So when we talk about the Senate race, we've got Mike Collins, we've got Buddy Carter, and Derek Dooley. At this point, Buddy Carter has raised the most. He's at about $6 million. That's trailing a little bit behind Mike Collins and Derek Dooley. So being able to fundraise is really going to make a difference about how much in the frequency they're able to get their message out on TV or other advertisements. Now contrast that with Jon Ossoff at this point. Jon Ossoff has raised around $25 million. So this is a pretty significant jump. Jon Ossoff raised, I think, around $138 million in 2020 when he ran against David Perdue. But this is important too. We know that just because you raise the most money doesn't necessarily ensure that you're going to have electoral success. There are plenty of examples of when people raise the most money and still didn't win.
Yeah, well, and obviously he's going to have an advantage because most likely doesn't end up in some sort of runoff, which means that money will go straightly to the general election, while whoever gets in the runoff on the Republican side is going to have to spend even more to get that nomination.
That's right. So they're trying to gauge and they're trying to go kind of slow because they know that they could end up in a runoff later on. Jon Ossoff knows at this point that this race is going to be highly competitive. This is a race that nationally people see the Democratic candidate as vulnerable in the Senate. And so he's going to kind of wait, conserve his resources as well, because he doesn't have to spend a lot to get through the primaries at this point. So.
But don't worry, you're going to be seeing those ads and a lot of them coming very soon
Yes,
from both sides,
definitely.
Georgia and South Carolina.
No doubt.
Kimberly Martin, thank you so much. We'll bring you on every couple weeks to sort of give us an update. We'll have to talk Congress eventually too, but we don't have time for 34 candidates between two states.
It's a lot, that's for sure.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Scott?